Well, hopefully we'll be having us an Old Home Manor recreation meeting. There's some stuff starting to gin together on the horses.
Can you
and
walk
all that.
away from the bench? Thank you.
I have my hand up.
So? Threaten me with a good time.
They're not the fuzzy ones. I already know, man.
How's the building coming? So you got some
Ready
sticks?
to leave it?
Yeah, they
All right.
they dropped the
Jack
trusses
wants,
today.
he wants to just do
Trusses
that.
and everything's so the siding, the trussing, everything's there now.
Jack? Just kick him in the
Were you ever able to put the
He's
rows
healthy.
together and look at them?
No, the mud run.
verbatim?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
I know you don't. But you're going to find out. You can't leave it May 7th. You got to be here May 7th.
Buildings actually.
You're going to remind me of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't call my exam.
And the siding they
Maybe that's
They can either stay around or
So it was
We're going to move the agenda.
I get to pick my office go first before
I would
anybody else
just,
does.
the hardware store is kicking my butt.
That'd be a good idea. Let's do that. Okay, good.
Where's this going to take us? How are you?
Sounds good.
Okay.
But they all need to be here for Scott Bruner's here.
Absolutely. Well, we don't do it till you get in.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to suggest
A to Z is the only guy that's really legal. I mean, there's other ones you can use, but they're not legal. So it's up to you. For me and my business, I have to go with legal.
Okay, I probably should.
A to Z. Name's Terry. Nice guy.
Well, I try and keep everything as much. I even use Corey once in a while.
Really?
I try and keep it local. I do.
That's scraping the bottom barrel.
Well, he's kind of my neighbor. I gotta be nice to him.
Why is he your neighbor?
The neighbor to the church. It's right around the
Oh,
corner there.
that neighbor.
No, these
I
drums.
say he's more
Got
my
all this
neighbor.
drum banging on in their backyard.
The what's banging? That's just the noise from the air rushing in one ear, banging around the house.
Is that it?
Okay.
If we have time after the meeting and you're not
Life is good.
dragging, we can take care of this after the meeting because I need you to sign stuff in my notary book.
Okay.
Yes.
And all we have to do is that whole
You know,
Okay, I
process.
was saying because I
We've been
did
doing
sign the
this long enough, I
notary
just really
book
don't-
last time.
But it
pay
might
a
not have
whole
been
lot of
mine, it might have
attention.
been
It
Amy's
just-
or Liz's.
It was Amy's.
Keeps rolling.
Yeah,
Well,
but if I'm gonna do the notary,
sticks
Amy's not
popping
here
up
tonight.
everywhere. It's
Okay,
just
not a problem.
field right there.
So,
Just out from the church.
No problem.
yeah.
So that's a good sign.
So there's a couple
Those
of
are big
things
houses,
you need to fill in
Yes.
too.
That I didn't fill in?
What's your,
What you saying?
what's your
Yeah,
front
like
building
the
for?
resolution
Office.
number,
Okay.
nobody fills that in.
Okay.
Oh.
Instead of
City
heating
town,
that
Chino
huge
Valley.
sanctuary and
There's
everything,
like 5 places where you
we'll
have to
just
write
move
to
everything
town.
to the little one.
Yeah, I did them on some of them, but the ones I've just put none in, I didn't think it applied, so I
Oh,
left
in
it
that
out.
case, it doesn't probably matter. But, yeah.
How's
We're,
it
we're
looking
looking
tonight?
at doing a similar thing down there where we are.
Whatever,
We
yeah.
have this 30-something hundred square foot old ranch house.
Right.
And we used to.
Well, I thought I should do it now because
It's
Wednesday,
going away.
I'm gonna win
Open up the
1.1
yard
million.
and just build, just these
And then you're gonna resign?
Well, I'm gonna give you the courtesy, I just won't show up.
I don't know what I'm into it. I don't want to see it yet. You tell me how much to spend.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have a
Apparently
plan.
you got the money to spend anyhow.
But yeah, she hasn't.
She hasn't done stop.
My credit card still works.
I'm gonna ask that to come up first so we can let
Hey,
people
if you
know.
wanna really piss Chris off, take his box when he's in the office and throw it on.
Otherwise they'll sit here and holy.
Right up top. The storm's out.
Somewhere, yeah. Good. Those I talked to in the back were here for the marijuana. More and more.
Scott.
I don't know what else is on the agenda. It's just kind of.
That most are all important to Scott.
Anyway, no sweat. We'll get in.
I started looking to see a lot of faces I haven't seen before.
This week.
No.
Maybe next week. Or next week, not this week.
They just don't know. They don't know clue.
Could this be a flash mob?
Flash mob. Danger. I thought it said something else. Like danger.
Oh, yeah, I think Lon's got a long call.
Okay.
He had some questions on it, so.
You ready, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready. ready. We just got
Oh,
two
now
more
which one are you gonna watch?
This one now or that?
Oh, I just figured. Watch that.
56 seconds, sir.
56.
I'll let you know.
Well, thank
Are we
you.
gonna have a prayer tonight?
Are we sure? You sorry, Doug. You've been. We're gonna move. We're gonna put an adult between
Which two?
between.
Is there an adult up here?
We gotta find her. We gotta find her. All right. All right, you folks ready to do this? I am. Let's go ahead and get her. Light the fires and kick the tires. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, please bless all of us who have come here this evening. Grant us the patience and the determination to deal with what's in front of us in the best interest of our community. Especially bless the women and men, home and abroad, who put their lives on the line to protect our country and give us the freedoms we have every day. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. May we have the roll call?
You certainly may, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Councilmember Kuka.
Here.
Chuka, I'm sorry.
It's okay, here.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marley.
Here. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. We have a presentation of a leadership award for Mr. Scott Brunner. Oh, Ms. Goodman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's with great pleasure. This is one of the fun things of doing this job. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Scott, if you wouldn't mind coming on up here. I'm Scott Brunner. On November 20th, 2000.
And he's humble.
On November 20th, 2015, State Representative Karen Fan presented Chino Valley Library Director Scott Brunner with the Arizona Library Leadership Award. The award was presented at the Arizona Library Association's annual conference in Flagstaff, Arizona. Over 65 people from the Chino Valley area were present to witness Mr. Brunner receive his award. Mr. Scott Brunner earned his master's in library science from the University of Arizona and has been the library director for Chino Valley for 16 years. He has doubled the size of the library, remodeled the library, and tripled circulation. He took the library from physical card catalogs to online computers, the internet, and RFID scanning. He was the first to hire a children's librarian. He added the first children's room, young adult area, children's computer room, community conference room, and community room. The library's free programs and services to the community have flourished under Scott's direction and are too numerous to mention. In addition, Scott built a public park next to the library, named it after his predecessor. The library is one of the hubs of the community, and Scott leadership has made it an attractive place for people to gather. This is a prestigious award in which he was recognized by his peers. Scott has developed an excellent working relationship with his volunteers and the Friends of the Library. Volunteers contribute over 6,000 man-hours a year to the library's success, and the Friends of the Library, besides funding a major portion of the expansion, have spent approximately $74,000 on the library in the past year. These relationships demonstrate Scott's leadership and why he is so worthy of this award. I would like to thank Darlene Westcott, our assistant librarian, for coordinating the application for Scott's award. Mayor and Council, please help me in honoring Mr. Scott Brunner. It has been an honor working with Scott for the last 15 years.
All right.
This is Scott's award. Mayor, we would like you to formally present it to him and have a picture with Scott, please.
I get to tell a story on you. When I first went over to check out the library, Scott showed me around and showed me all the security systems there. And then he said, Mayor, if you try and sneak a book out of the library, our security system will catch you. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I had to be worried, didn't I?
I need to learn to read. All right. I'd like to present to you this Library Leadership Award. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Our next item is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone for call to the public? Okay, call to the public is now closed. This next segment, response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. Now, according to the instructions given to us by the state's attorney general, only one of us can answer in call to the public, response to the public. And so Councilman Turner asked for the privilege of being able to do the response. So Councilman Turner.
Thank you. Response to the public. At our last meeting, is it? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You hear me? At our last meeting, Mr. Lee Paul questioned the producing of the mayor's birth certificate. I want Mr. Lee Paul to know that we've taken his concern seriously and that we intend to leave no tumbleweed unturned until we find it.
All right. Thank you much.
There was another young lady that came in that I do not know her name. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. Made comments regarding invocation language being offensive to non-Christians. I want her to know that I'll pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, so help me God. Mm-hmm. And when I pray, I'll pray in Jesus' name. If that offends you, I will make no apology. You see, here in the United States of America, many men and women have died for your freedom of religion. But it does not give you the right to tread on mine, nor my freedom of expression. If the idea that my prayer offends you, then it offends me.
Thank you. All right. Current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. Do we have any status reports on council on this side? Any reports on this side? No. Okay, hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have a status report from the Old Home Manor Recreation Committee, but we don't have one this evening. Town manager, do you have anything?
No, sir, but Ruth will be making some reports to council later on in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Does anyone on this side wish to remove any consent agenda items? Anyone
Yes,
on
I'd
this
like
side?
to
Yes, sir.
remove A.
Okay. Item 6A is now removed from the consent agenda. Any others? Okay. Ms. Lewis, may we have the rest of the consent agenda?
All right. You removed 6A. 6B is consideration and possible action to approve the financial report for the 5 months ending November 30th, 2015. 6C, consideration and possible action to accept the December 8, 2015 regular meeting minutes. And 6D, consideration and possible action to accept the December 10, 2015 study session minutes.
The chair would accept a motion.
Motion to accept the consent agenda items B, C, and D.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action item 6A has been moved into action items. Consideration and possible action to approve intergovernmental agreement, or IGA template, for other municipalities, county, or other political subdivisions of the state of Arizona to use the Chino Valley Shooting Facility law enforcement range. Chief Wynn?
I'm here.
All right.
Answer any questions.
All right. Mr. Turner, I believe you had the same question I had, so.
Well, I read through this, and I think it's a great idea. We've got a real nice facility out there that everyone should be able to use. The issue that I've got is 5.2 says the town shall waive any and all fees and other charges that would otherwise be owed to the user or user of the facility. And as you go down through, it also states that the town of Chino Valley is responsible for all of the upkeep of the facility. And these AGAs are asked for 20 years.
Right.
I'm wondering why we have use fees for everything else in town, and we're going to give away the farm, not have any use fees on our shooting range.
I just so happen to have brought some notes with me tonight, and it's actually a very good question because there's been some confusion about the ranges. And so if you have a few moments, I'd like to maybe explain the differences and what we're doing. There's actually two completely separate facilities out there. There's the facility that's open to the public, which is managed by the Prescott Sportsman's Club. And that is available to anybody to come out and pay a daily user fee and shoot. And then there's a certain amount of funding that comes back from them to the town. The tactical range, which is what this agreement deals with, is strictly open to law enforcement agencies. And the funding came primarily through RICO, which is the Racketeering Influence Corruption Organization Act, and that's basically the drug dealers paid to build this range. Because the money came from there, came from the sheriff's office, and came from Arizona Post, which is our training board, we have to make it available to law enforcement free of charge. Now, we do weekend rentals, and we have a separate agreement that Ms. Smiley did several years ago when we first started building this. So if a private instructor wants to use the range on a weekend, we do have a fee for that. So the only ones not paying the fees are other law enforcement agencies, but they basically have paid to build it because the RICO money, all the seizures in Yavapai County go into one pool, and then as a board, we vote on how that money is used. And so the other law enforcement agencies voted to give this money to Chino Valley to build the range. Now, how we do, pay for some of the upkeep is through the brass. The agencies are asked to leave their brass out there, and then we either sell it or trade it for ammunition. We're anticipating about $1,000 worth of ammunition this year just through trading brass in, on top of what we sell either to reloaders or other people that want to buy it. We also, because of having a nice facility, we've also been able to do a lot of training classes out there and get Chino officers to the classes for free. And we've saved, I had the lieutenant run some numbers for me today, and just this past year, we've saved about $5,000 in training costs by having the facility here versus sending an officer to Phoenix or somewhere where we have to pay for the per diem and the motel room and all that stuff, and for the class, because when we have the classes here, they're free for our officers. And that's one of the things we ask, when we do one, is that can we put one or two of our guys in your class? So the other thing the lieutenant ran was we've had several classes where we've had instructors and participants stay at our motel here, and I can tell you cops don't bring their lunch when they train, so every day that we have a class out there, you've got guys going out and eating at the various restaurants, so there's an indirect return to the town that way. So does that kind of answer the question?
Well, yeah, it does, and I agree with people coming to town, and I think that's a great part about it. People are coming from all over the state. I understand that the sheriff's office helped pay for this. We got Yavapai County, but we're talking about people all over the state. What concerns me is burdening the town
Right.
for a 20-year period to do all of the upkeep at their cost to make sure that that range is ready for everyone.
Right. Well, this agreement specifically to Yavapai County agencies and DPS. So that's the primary, the number one user besides us, or actually, we're not the number one user, is the sheriff's office, and then DPS. We've also had the college out there, the tribes come out, the VA police, but primarily it's us, the sheriff's office, and DPS using it. The ongoing maintenance basically is we have a porta-john out there that we have to pay for, and we get more than enough from our other rentals to cover that. We have our own equipment out there to do basic grading and cleaning up of our berms and that type of thing. So it's not a huge drain as far as cost to keep it up. And like I said, this agreement is really specifically for the Yavapai County agencies, and they're the ones that paid to build it. So we do get the money back from the brass that they have, and we've used inmate labor. We saved about $15,000 on the sidewalks because the sheriff sent out some inmates to help us pour the concrete. So, I mean, we've stretched, we probably have at least a $500,000 facility that we built for half of that, so.
Do you have, over and above the brass, for instance, and what in-kind goods and services you can get on doing things, do you have an idea of what the annual cost will be to the town?
We haven't been operating it really long enough. There's not really, I mean, we're talking about dirt, concrete, and a steel building, so there's not a lot of disposable type cost. I mean, each agency supplies their own disposables, which is their targets, their target frames. We actually have the guardrail posts, which we put our targets in, so those things are basically indestructible. We plan on eventually in 10 or 15 years when we have to mine the lead, you actually have companies that will come in and they'll mine it for free because they sell it. So as far as, you know, a yearly upkeep cost, we haven't really had anything in the last couple of years because we're still kind of in the building stage of it. But other than spraying weeds and that kind of thing, there's really not a whole lot of cost to running it.
I had another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, originally, the city of Prescott had a shooting range out towards Sundog Ranch Road, correct?
The city police department has a
Yeah.
small range, yes, behind the
Okay.
transfer station, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but this is one of the better ranges for our area, is that
I'm not
correct?
bragging, but mine's 100 times better than anything
Okay.
they have.
And perhaps people could understand that at times when there's catastrophic situations in our community, as well as other outlying communities, law enforcement does band together and back each other up in these situations. And it behooves us to improve everyone's skills for the area. Is that a safe assumption?
Yes, ma'am, we're a small county. I mean, Phoenix right now has more officers on duty on the street than our entire county has in this county. So we work together, and as an example is the driving track, Mr. Turner. We have a driving track out by the old fairgrounds. The county maintains that, but I can go send people out there whenever I can, need to schedule somebody for driver's training. We don't pay anything to use the driving track. The county mows it and takes care of, the weeds and all of that out there. And it was, again, paid for through RICO and state training funds, but the county does, do the upkeep on it. And it's just, we don't charge each other to use each other's facilities. And before we had our own range and we were going to Prescott or Prescott Valley, they don't charge us to use their facility. Now that I have the best facility, of course, people want to come here. But it does bring in some really good classes. I mean, we sent 4 guys to rifle class within the last year. If I had to send them to Phoenix, it would have been $2,000 to $3,000 in cost to go down there for a week for a class. And in fact, there hasn't even been a class offered in the last year, but we were able to do that class here, use our own instructors, and there was no per diem involved. Everything was right here. Plus, I control the ammunition usage. When somebody else is doing the class, they don't care how many rounds they shoot. With 30 cents a pop, it adds up. So, my instructors understand that because I let them know, that's coming out of our budget, so they do try to moderate that a little bit. So there's a lot of pluses to having it here for Chino Valley because we do have these classes come in. We're able to put our guys into classes normally they wouldn't be able to get into.
Okay. All right, any further questions here? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
I just wanted to highlight one thing that the chief didn't mention. The police department's own forces put together a classroom facility out there that allows for private contractors, as the chief said, to come in on the weekend. And now that there's classroom space, in addition to the range space, the concealed carry guys who come out and teach those classes to the public are much more facilitated than they would be at the public range at the top of the hill because there's not a classroom space there. So I don't know of anything other than down at the bottom of the hill, ranges with classroom space that's HVAC that you can lease out on the weekend. And that's part of the business model that I really liked was they are trying to facilitate income on the weekends.
All right, thank you.
And we've had a lot of interest. And there's several new instructors that have, retired from other, law enforcement officers that have retired from other parts of the country, moved here, and want to start doing training classes. So the lieutenant field's probably one a month calls from somebody looking to do classes. So as we're getting better known, I think on the weekends we're going to start being really busy out there, and we do have a standard rental agreement, which is similar to the pool or the park that Ms. Smiley did, for us. And they do pay a fee to use it then, and so that money goes into a line item Mr. Duffy has, and that's where we pull our maintenance cost out of.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions? Okay, any over
Thank you.
here? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda item alpha.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I believe, Vice Mayor, you had
I have a
something you
feeling
wanted to
that
cover.
most of you are here, or a lot of you are here for a marijuana issue that we're not going to deal with tonight, but we do have an agenda item about when we are going to deal with it, so I'm going to ask that we move agenda item F up in front of item A and discuss it at this time, which is about study session.
Okay, I'll second that. Is your mic on? Okay,
Did you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
all right.
I'm asking that we move agenda item F up in front of agenda item A to discuss scheduling of a study session to deal with marijuana.
Okay.
Medical
So-
marijuana.
Medical marijuana. So that's item 7F, it moved up to the head of the line as far as our action items. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're now dealing with item 7F. Consideration and possible action to change the council's study session schedule and select a date for the next ensuing study session. This is on page 85 of your packet.
Okay.
And you'll notice on summary of issues and staff rationale, it says Mayor Marley requests that the council consider moving study sessions from the first and third Thursdays to the third Tuesdays. That way our Tuesday nights will be pretty much set aside for doing council business. Anyway, our second and fourth for council meetings, and if you guys are okay with it, we'll have the third Tuesday as our study session. Any discussion?
Question?
Yes, sir.
So the reason you're looking at doing that is to make Tuesday night standard?
Make Tuesday night standard. The first Tuesday is covered with our planning and zoning, I believe. And so if we set up that third Tuesday as our possible study session, if we do have a study session, we just know to keep our calendars free on Tuesdays.
For me, I kind of like the Thursday, and the reason I do is because, of course, I'm working, and a lot of times I'm out of town.
Right.
So I try, like next week, I'm going to be out
Okay.
of town. So if we were to have a Tuesday meeting, I would miss it.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that works for me. But if everybody else is good with it, then we'll just deal with it.
All right. Go ahead and side with Councilman Turner.
I'm not.
I can
I'm not,
take it.
though, sorry. No, I just thought that making it Tuesday, it just makes it easier for the public, too, because I did have a conversation with someone who's here, and he was like not sure if it was council meeting or not, and then I
Right.
just thought that, sorry, I just thought the consistency would make it easier for the public, which is our goal.
I won't
I'm
hold it
sorry.
against you for very long.
I'm sorry.
All right. Other discussion?
I have no problem Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay. I would prefer Tuesdays, but I could live with Thursday if worse came to worse. Yes?
I like the idea of the Thursdays, because then we're also closer to the following Tuesday council meeting. I don't know that it wouldn't, as far as preparing our agendas, I would think having our study session closer to the council meeting could be.
I think it would be difficult for a Thursday study session and then have it on the next Tuesday.
That
It
wouldn't
would
work.
actually.
It wouldn't work at all, so you really need about a week or so in there to allow the town clerk and all the paperwork to come through from the staff.
Let's break the rules for a minute and ask the town clerks to, are you ladies back there wringing your hands going, please don't do this to us?
If you were to have, well, continue with the Thursday schedule, what we usually did when we had a Thursday study session is whatever was discussed at that meeting didn't automatically go on the next Tuesday agenda. There would be a 3-week delay.
A 3-week delay.
So by moving to Tuesday, you're going to have a little better opportunity to maybe hear something, but then you're even talking about the fact that we would be putting out the packet for the next meeting just 2 days later. So it's still going to be a tight time frame, really, no matter what day you put it on.
Okay.
And the agenda is set on the Monday before that Tuesday, so it would still
Right.
still have to go on to the following meeting.
So we're still pretty much talking about a 3-week delay after we've come up with a study session.
Yeah. Unless you already, if it's something that staff's already working on, they can already schedule it on the regular meeting. And we've done that too, where it's something that you just want to discuss and open without a whole lot of research having to be done in between.
Okay.
So a lot of it just depends on the item. If the item is something that is just discussed and then put on the next meeting for voting, it's easy. But if you're going to have a big study session and ask staff to come back and do research and create new staff reports and things like that, then you're going to have the extra time.
Okay. I think we could live with that if we put a place marker in and say we need this item on the next week's agenda. We have our study session. If we haven't got it all hashed out, we can always cancel it, but it'll allow it to flow. So, okay, so that does buy us a little bit of reaction time if we do it on Tuesdays. Others?
I'm good either way. I'm
This
not
doesn't
going
matter.
one place.
Okay, yes, sir.
The purpose for this is to cut down our time on our council meetings.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take care of all the nuts and bolts in the study sessions, so that when we show up for council meetings, it should just march right through. It should.
That's the plan. That's, we're trying to use the Prescott Valley model where if they have an item that has to have a lot of discussion, they can thrash it through in the study session rather than trying to press it through as a council item. Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All right.
Are we still talking at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd still be at 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and propose it as a motion to do it on Tuesdays, and then you can vote against it if you wish. So,
I second Tuesdays.
okay. All right. I would move that we move our study sessions from the first and third Tuesdays to the first and third Thursdays to the third Tuesdays.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries.
You want to discuss about what's going to be on? We're going to have, are we going to have one next Tuesday, study session?
I am hoping, can we schedule a study session for next Tuesday?
And the items,
All right.
and then the medical marijuana issue will be on that study session?
Medical marijuana issue will be on that, and sewer
Yeah, there's both.
connections.
So there will not be a medical marijuana discussion this evening. We're sorry, but that item was pulled from the agenda. It will be next Tuesday evening, will be a study session. A study session is an opportunity for the members of the town council to discuss items among each other. We can't do it at this meeting because of legalities, but at a study session we can, but we can't vote on anything in a study session. It's just an informational discussion among town council members. So that's when we'll next deal with the medical marijuana issue.
That's correct. And at that study session, since we've been receiving input from the public over the last P&Z meetings and over the last couple of council meetings, it'll just be the council speaking. We won't be taking public input. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I'm just wondering, since this medical marijuana issue is actually an amendment to the zoning code,
Yes, ma'am.
what the public notice has been for the study session to be held next Tuesday, because amendments to the zoning code require 15 days notice before, before the public hearing. So
It's not a-
has there been any notice, is my question. Is there anybody here from planning? No notice.
Is this a hearing, or is this just a discussion?
This was
on-
just a discussion.
I'm not sure
It's-
if
We're not
the,
going to take any information, and we're not going to make any decisions.
so it's not a public hearing, so I think you're okay.
No, not a public hearing.
Okay.
We just need to notify people that we're going to talk to each other.
You're just going to
I
talk
love
about the
government.
medical marijuana issue again.
We're
We've
just,
been given some choices, and we need to walk through
Okay,
those
but you're
choices.
not going to talk about any of the specific code amendments. You'll have another public hearing
we
on that.
we can.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, next Tuesday, we will discuss that. All right. Oh, if you wish, we can have a brief recess to allow folks to leave if they want to.
I think, let's take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you for doing that.
All right.
Well, it's nicer now that we don't have a full.
Ready. Okay, we're back in session again. Item 7, Alpha, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution number 16-1072, authorizing development services staff to apply for Arizona Department of Housing owner-occupied housing rehabilitation funds. Mr. Gardner.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for hearing us out tonight. This item number is just to ask your permission to apply for a grant. This grant requires that the board, or the council, adopts a resolution to apply for the grant. The grant is in the amount of $275,000. It's a continuation of the current owner-occupied housing program we're doing now.
You bet.
Yeah. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them for you.
Let's do it. All right. Do you folks have any questions?
No, sir.
No? Any
I have a
questions?
question.
That's, like you said, it's a continuation of what we're already doing.
Yeah.
All right, the chair would entertain a
Did you
motion.
say you had a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We're moving right along.
Perfect.
The chair would entertain a motion.
Recommend to approve resolution number 16-1072, authorizing Department Services staff to apply for Arizona Department of Housing owner-occupied housing rehabilitation funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, consideration and possible action to accept changes to the Senior Center Advisory Board bylaws. Ms. Gribman.
Good evening again. I didn't prepare a presentation. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We prepared the original resolution back in 2000, and it just needs to be updated. So if you have any questions.
Easy enough. I didn't have any questions. All right, excellent.
Okay,
Chair
thank you.
would entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution number 16-1073, repealing resolution 555 and adopting amended Senior Center Advisory Board bylaws incorporated within this resolution.
Second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've only had one dissenting vote tonight. That's good. All right, item C, status report.
That'll change.
Good night,
That's
John.
true. That's true. All right. Status report and discussion regarding the disposition of land in Old Home Manor Industrial Park, and that's on page 75 of your packet. Ms. Mayday.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, we have a brief presentation for your consideration regarding the disposition of real estate in Old Home Manor Industrial Park. As you know, we've received the funding and are well down the road of getting engineering arranged for the sewer and water extensions out at Old Home Manor and the construction of the extension of Road 4 North. Of course, when you take federal money, you have to abide by federal rules. And there are 3 documents that govern how we use this money and the property that benefits from it. The Department of Commerce standard terms and conditions for construction projects, the special award conditions, and the financial assistance standard terms and conditions. So basically, what these documents do, they're the agreement between the town and EDA as to how the money is distributed, what we use it for, what we do with any property that's left over, how we treat real estate that benefits. So in the standard terms and conditions, the EDA says that the town acts as the trustee for the real estate that is improved by the grants funds. And this goes on to continue to talk about all the, what happens if we don't do it correctly, they take the money back. The property management standards, this is important because this will tie directly to any improvements in terms of covenants, codes, and restrictions that are developed for any construction projects. We are responsible for what they call the, where did it go? The active life of the project, which is, in this case, 20 years. So these rules apply to all of the property for 20 years, and that will be a factor that council needs to consider when we're talking about how this real estate is, how the town treats this real estate. Do we sell it? Do we lease it? Do we do both?
Excuse me,
Yes.
Ms. Mayday, can you have questions
Sure.
in the middle? Seeing as we're only going to be running water and sewer down the west side of, and it won't be the entire west side of the industrial park, it'll be, looks like about 2/3 of the west side. Is the entirety of the Old Home Manor Industrial Park encumbered with these rules then, or just the area that's sewered?
Just the area that we submitted the grant for the improvements, because you remember, it's not just the sewer and water, it's also the extension of Road 4 North over the wash.
Okay.
So there's about 200 acres that are somewhat encumbered by this because of the improvements.
Okay.
The encumbrances aren't anything terribly significant. They're typical, you have to abide by civil rights laws. You have to follow EPA rules. You have to operate within the rules governing NEPA, the National EPA Act, those sorts of things. So while there are a lot of them, most of them are pretty standard practice.
Okay.
So,
after a bit, we don't have to do it tonight, but after a bit, can we have a map of the land that is encumbered out of the
sure,
industrial
yes.
park?
It's the typical C shape around the wastewater treatment plant out there.
Okay, well, if it's the entire C shape, then it's the entire industrial park.
Correct, but it's not all of Old Home Manor.
No,
just
okay.
that one section.
All right, easy enough, thank you.
So the useful life of this project, the EDA, has determined to be 20 years. So like I said, these CCNRs that the town council will ultimately approve, if they decide to do so, will be in place for 20 years. So like I said, for 20 years, the property will be encumbered by the Civil Rights Act, NEPA, historic preservation, drug-free workplace, pretty standard for any kind of government program or grant that we accept. These same things apply for housing rehab. We have to ensure that the subrecipients abide by the Drug-Free Workplace Act. We have to do extra work if there's something involved with historic preservation. So It's not anything out of the ordinary. There are some tax, in the interest of brevity, I'm going to, whoops, I got a little too brief, I think. So I wanted to talk a little bit about property taxes. It's blank because this is kind of a confusing matter, the way that the state calculates these taxes. Because it's government-owned property that we are leasing, we have something called the government lease excise property tax that is paid rather than a sales tax. I'd love to be able to tell you on average what that would be, but the calculations and the worksheets are 7 pages.
Okay.
And there are many, many moving parts. It includes the size of the structure, the terms of the lease, so it's a little hard to give some sort of typical cost to that. Given a little bit more time, I think we can develop some ballparks, but the tax benefit, the property tax benefit is about 2, maybe 3%.
Okay.
So that's something else that we'll be looking at in terms of whether to sell or lease this property. There are a number of cost-benefit analyses that I think that it would benefit council to review in a work study session to understand fully what the impacts are and how to move forward with this.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right. Any questions on this side? I had a couple of them. Okay. All right. Have we received any preliminary inquiries or interest regarding lease land?
We have, yes, we have had discussions with a couple of developers that are interested in pursuing something once we're at a stage where we can move forward. Right now, we need to develop these legal documents. We need to develop a lease or a sale agreement. We need to develop some CC&Rs,
Okay.
like I said. So until we get those in place, we really can't do too much in the get the ground leased
Right.
realm.
I knew this was a big subject. We couldn't finish it out tonight.
Right.
But I wanted to at least get it on the table, get it before the council.
We
So-
also, if I could add, have had some private sector interest as well, generated
Okay.
by the private property owners out in Old Home Manor about connecting and improving their land as well. So we've had quite a bit of interest.
Oh, okay.
On both sides.
All right. And we understand this is an industrial park. We're not going to sell off 40 acres for folks to grow alfalfa on or run
No, no,
their
no, no.
horses on or any of that. It has to be an industrial usage. And thank you for letting me know the entire park is encumbered and encumbered for 20 years on that. One of my questions was, can we sell some of the land and can we lease some of it? Can we split it up?
Sure.
But theoretically, if we have CC&Rs, we're controlling that final product. You two are watching me like I'm about to say something stupid. You won't have to wait long.
Me bear's watching.
I'm just watching.
You're watching, okay. My third question. What?
You're funny.
My third question. With a lease, we have some control over land use, and you had spoken about CC&Rs. Could you let the council know how that process will work? Do we have someone designated that's going to help us set up some CC&Rs?
Ms.
Mr.
Smiley will be doing that. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I wanted to offer, is this on?
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry, I wanted to offer, there's other layers of things that will need to be looked at. Chino Valley has an industrial development authority, and industrial development authorities have access to funding structures that we do not.
Right.
And like the Yavapai County IDA just granted $400 and some odd million worth of bonding capacity to Drake. So we need to look at the IDA and the capacity that they have. We also need to look at water law as it pertains to leasehold versus freehold on the land. And I think, given what we're trying to create here and the density of employment that we'd like to see, we need to look outside of our own organization for expertise.
You bet.
And it is very likely that we will come to you to ask for a small amount of money in contingency funding to be able to go out and secure a consultant that could come in and help us with that, who would have the kind of experience nationwide to be pretty savvy about how we could best put this together.
Okay.
So we're several months into this, and we're probably 4 or 5 weeks from coming to you with some suggestions on how to move forward with some expertise.
You bet. Like I said, we can't resolve it all tonight, but I wanted us to at least have it out on the board.
I just had
Yes,
one
ma'am.
question for Robert, because I know that part of the excitement of having this this industrial park is the job creation that we're looking for. And oftentimes, governments can work with, developers, businesses to get them going, offer incentive programs. Is that part of what you're going to be researching?
Yes, what we want to bring to you is a full array of choices so that you guys can decide what's appropriate for Chino as a community. There are structures that you can create on the lease, that we've discussed that. If a developer wants to come in and secure X number of acres with an option for X number more and wants to phase something over time, there's ways to accommodate that too. We don't do that every day, and so we're not as sharp on it as maybe somebody who has been doing that for a long time, and that's why we want to bring some expertise.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? Like I said, this is just preliminary. You folks are all good.
So I'm assuming this is going to go to a study session.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I would think if we have people that are interested already kind of hanging out there, that it would be something we'd kind of want to get on pretty quick.
Yes, we've been following up and having regular conversations with those parties that have expressed interest.
So it's time we need our study session
Yeah,
so we can narrow in on what we're going to allow and not allow.
You bet.
Yeah, this will, so basically what will happen is Phyllis and I will come up with a list of suggestions for the lease and CCNRs and provide them for your review. She'll be able to advise you as to what will work best for what it is that council decides they want to do.
You bet.
Leasing, selling, both of those are options.
Excellent, excellent.
So,
yeah, the main thing is if we borrowed money to build or got a grant to build an industrial park, we want to make sure that we control that and have an industrial park, hopefully having some jobs for our folks here in Chino.
yes, yep.
Excellent. All right, well, I've got enough to start thinking about it now, so, all right, the chair would entertain a motion. None.
It's a discussion, we don't need.
Fine, okay.
Like I said,
See, I told
We're
you
not
you
gonna
would
argue with you.
have to wait very long.
You can make one if you want.
All right, I'll make a motion. Item D, status report and discussion regarding UDO amendments to provide relief to agribusiness from certain development standards. Ms. Mayday.
Yes, sir. We began discussing this some time ago in terms of the impact that agribusinesses have on the community and how some of the development requirements that the town has do not work well with that model. So the things that seem to be the biggest concerns that we have heard from those that have responded have been we need to fix development requirements so that they don't permanently remove land from production, to consider landscaping requirements, that we're not taking production land out to put bushes in, and to facilitate the ability for these, some of these businesses to have special events, fundraisers, things like that, that they can't currently do.
You bet.
So we discussed this almost a year ago. And we have been doing some research in terms of, like I said, language that other communities have used across the country. And we started to outline a framework for an overlay district. However, the further we went, the more we discovered that there were only a couple of things that we need to tweak, and that we could probably just rewrite a few sections of UDO to achieve what it is that we wanted to achieve, rather than add a whole nother layer. We did have a roundtable on October 6, 2015. We sent out notices to all of the businesses in town, agribusinesses in town, and we had one person show up, a representative from Collier Farms, and the bulk of his issues in maintaining and growing his business is the ADWR's water policy, rather than anything that the town is really doing.
Okay.
So I don't know that the issues that a lot of these farmers and agribusiness people are facing are necessarily things that we can fix, but there are things that we can fix that will at least make it easier on the town side. Right now, we tentatively have it slated to go to start the public hearing process in March, which means that it would be back to you in May for consideration and final approval.
Okay. One quick question. Are you up for questions yet? Okay. One quick question. Will we be defining in the UDO agribusiness? Because we presently have commercial businesses in which the public comes on and off your property.
Right.
We, at the moment, have agricultural, where it's a private farm, and
Right.
the only folks that come on are your employees. And then we have this hybrid, the agribusiness, where you have a vineyard or whatever, and you're having folks come through and do tours, weddings, horse shows, events like that.
Right.
And so if we're going to be changing some things in the UDO, we do need to define agribusiness in there.
Correct, and that's one of the things that we do need to work on is a new definition for agribusiness that incorporates the vineyards and the horse shows and those sorts of things, but does not incorporate color spot and, the large industrial scale agricultural operations.
You bet, you bet. Yeah, Color Spot doesn't give daily tours or
Exactly.
weddings that I know of, so. Oh, hey, flowers would be cheap, that'd be cool.
I just had one comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure, and don't take offense, but I just wanted to make sure that their lack of participation doesn't dampen your enthusiasm for this. The
No.
rural community has a history of not being able to make it to these. Our ranchers are being trampled because they can't get involved in the politics. Just, this is kind of their way. I think there's a need for a defining of agribusiness.
All right.
We can, if council would like, we could certainly try another roundtable and see if we can get a better response or some other way to reach out to the, agribusiness community.
I think we have several folks with an ag background already on the council. I think if we get something roughed in and then let the agricultural community know this is going to be an agenda item, and if we look at every amendment to, were I running an agribusiness, would this help my business? The one you had in your summary of issues insofar as the current paving standard, worked a lot of ranches up in southern Colorado, none of which had pavement on them, and so I think it's a good idea. I had a question on the alternate dust-free surface. That's like AB or crushed granite, or do we know?
Double chip, something like that.
Okay, something like that.
Something that's all weather that can be stable for ADA access.
Okay, easy enough.
I suppose if you crushed DG enough, you could get there.
Yeah, it'll compact. So,
But here again, where we're talking about that, you're talking about a path to a bathroom or something
Correct.
like that. We're
Right.
not talking about saying, hey, you have to take 5 acres of your land here and
Correct.
and
Correct.
take it out of something that can't be cultivated again.
Exactly, and that seems to be one of the big issues, is taking ag land out of permanent production.
you bet. No, that's the ADWR's job. Okay. I'm sorry, but you give me a microphone, I'll get in trouble.
Mayor, one more,
Yes.
please. Are we going to be taking the conditional use permits then out of the agribusiness requirements?
It's something that we could look at. I don't know that off the top of my head, I don't know how that would work. I'd have to go back and look at exactly what it is that the CUPs offer that we could capture with new UDO requirements. Was there anything specific that you had in mind?
I'd hate for the UDOs to override the need for a conditional use permit.
Oh,
Okay.
in terms of,
Actually, kind of the opposite of what you were.
sure, no, I don't know. That is entirely up to council, the path. We will bring suggested language. The removal of CUPs is not on the table right now. That's not something that we have considered.
Okay.
Okay.
So as someone is starting their agribusiness at their house, I don't want the UDOs just to be a blanket approval for them to start doing this.
Gotcha, right.
That I think they still need to come in and get a conditional use permit so that their neighbors, if they have an objection to this,
Yep.
mom and pop farm going in next to them, where they're not going to have customers, that's not fair to the neighbors right there.
Right, and that's not one of the things that we have been considering, is eliminating that CUP process.
Okay.
Like I said in the staff brief, what we've largely been looking at have been landscaping requirements, paving, alternate surfaces, and those sorts of things. Some way to better refine a temporary use permit or a special events permit. Right now, it's stacks of paper, and you have to have police permission and all. It would be great if the Ringling Brothers were coming to town, but for somebody who wants to have a weddings on their farm once or twice a month, it doesn't make any sense for them.
Okay. Excellent. If there's no further questions, I would probably, when that time comes, we'll probably just do a study session on it. And I like the idea of keeping the CUPs because, as Councilman Mendoza said, that could bring a brand-new set of problems if someone starts a mom-and-pop business like that. All right. Okay, moving onwards. Item Echo, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 16-807, amending the Town Code Title III Administration, Chapter 37 Elections by amending 37.021 Election of Mayor or Council Member at Primary Election to bring this section into alignment with recent amendments to Arizona Revised Statutes 9-821.01. Ms. Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm sure some of you are aware that for many years, it has been possible to elect a council person outright at the primary election. The town has to have an ordinance for us to be able to do that, and we've had that ordinance on the books for many years. And there was a certain calculation that determined how a person could get elected at the primary. Well, the legislature has changed that formula for the better. And what it used to be, I don't know, Liz, can you reduce it so you can see the whole thing? What it used to be is it was just, you would look at how many ballots were cast, not individual votes, but if 1,000 people voted in an entire election, regardless of whether or not they actually voted for the council, the ballots were counted up. So if there's 1,000 ballots, half of that is 500, you add one. So if any council member got 501 votes, they would automatically be declared elected. But now with consolidated elections, we're going to be having our general election along with federal issues, state issues, county issues. And it's very possible that there's going to be people who never even get to the bottom of the ballot to vote for you all, or for council or local town issues such as referendums and things like that. So it would make it so much more difficult for people to be outright voted. And one of the things that the state has been encouraged to do, the legislature, is to make it a little easier for people to be voted in the primary, because most of us put our ballot measures on the primary anyways, and so if we don't have to have a general election, we save lots of money.
Right.
So we changed the calculation such that you're going to, no, you can't, okay. Well, in your packet, it was in there. But what I did is I took the actual numbers from the 2013 election. We had 6 candidates for council. I didn't include the mayor because there was only one person running for mayor. So we had 6 people running for council, and what ended up happening is one of them got elected outright based on the rules as they were in 2013. One got elected outright, and then you pick the top 2 per seat that's still vacant, and they move forward to the runoff. So I took the calculation and ran the exact same numbers using the new calculation, and it would have ended up that 3 people would have been elected outright at the primary. So you see the difference, and we would not have had to have a general election in 2013 under this new formula. But that's how it works now, is you take the sum of all the votes, you divide it by the number of seats, in which case most of the time we have 3. In this case, it's going to be a little different. You divide by 2, round up, and then whatever that number is the number that you use as your baseline for whether or not a person receives a quote-unquote majority of the votes and can be elected at the primary. So basically, this ordinance just adopts some language saying that we're going to follow state law. Rather than change the specifics every time the state changes something, we're just going to put some language that we'll be doing it the way state law says. And then our town attorney made a few other corrections to Section 37 in the town code, just to align it a little better and make it clearer for how that all works.
Okay.
So are there any other questions?
So how does that help if nobody gets to the end of the ballot?
Well, our last election, we did have I was really surprised. We had a really good turnout. Actually, the consolidated election was better for us. And I don't know if it was just what the topics were that were on the ballot, but we had our highest percentage of voters during the 2014 bond election and the general plan election. We had 60, it was around 60%, which is our highest. So I'm kind of hoping that this consolidated thing will increase voter turnout, but we're still feeling it out because it's only been happening for a year and a half. So.
In the bottom right-hand corner, candidates 1, 3, and 5 would receive enough votes to be declared elected, and no runoff would be necessary.
Right.
So you don't have to run off the mayor or anything.
That's right. You don't have to chase anybody away.
It's late. It's late. Give me that one. Okay.
You just need some coffee.
All right. All right. If there's no further questions.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Nope, sorry. I just wanted to, I wasn't sure if everybody had caught this because I didn't get this and I called Jamie and we had a conversation
nice
and
chat.
she was wonderful because the formula was just over my head and so, but now I get it. And one thing that I just did want to point out is that there's a chance, particularly with this situation, is that the council will know who it is in August.
August 30th is when
August
our primary
30th.
is.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there because that means that you will spend, rather than having it determined in December, it will be determined in August. And just so that everybody is aware that the next council will be known in August. And so there will be several months there where you may be a loser, I guess.
That's called a lame duck.
Yeah,
Right,
lame duck.
right. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. Okay.
Now, the one thing I do need to have clarified, and I'm not sure if Ms. Smiley can answer this right off the cuff, or we'll have to come back with you, but because we're going to have 3 2-year positions on our ballot and 3 4-year positions on the ballot, I'm not sure if we can consolidate. I mean, we're going to have to probably do those separately, run the calculation for the 2-year seats and then run the calculation for the 4-year seats. Okay. She's confirming that. So this will be a little different than normal where we only have the 4-year seats on the ballot, but we've got the whole kit and caboodle this year. So
Chino will be out of the norm
yeah.
for one election.
Never happens. I know, it's so rare.
That's good. Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 16807, amending 37021, election of mayor and council members at primary elections.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consideration and possible action. Oh, we're done with the study session. That's good. The chair, do we need a break before we go into executive session?
let's do
Nope.
it now.
Okay, let's do it. All right.
Motion to adjourn into executive session.
Okay.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're now going into executive session.
Listen to the sales pitch. Is it okay?
No, there we go. All right, we're back in session. Consideration and possible action to approve the assignment of the contract for legal services with Curtis Goodwin Sullivan, Udall and Schwab, PLC, for town attorney services to Gus Rosenfeld, PLC. The chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the assignment.
Second.
We have
I
a mo-
beat you.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have a motion to
I
adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that too.
A motion and a second. All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And stay here if you wish. Motion